even being the underdog, even people doubting on me, that gives me extra motivation, and I will be there on Saturday, September 28th, to shock the world and the whole France.
Hey, how you doing, Moicano? We're in the MMA on Point office. We're just doing the podcast right now.
Right now, I am just going down to do the face-to-face with BSD. I think he's tough, but Saturday 28th, I will beat him.
We're all discussing as well, we think this potentially could be fight of the year, right? He's game, you're always game, you always bring it. I mean, is that something you feel like you can promise for the fans as well? Potential fight of the year in this one?
I hope not. I hope it's the performance of the year for me. I'm ready to go over there and make a statement. It's a new fight. He could improve his game. He could be better. So I don't take anything for granted. I don't think it's going to be the same BSD that's going to show up on Saturday. So doesn't really matter. It's going to be a tough fight, I know, but I'm ready. And thank you so much for the support, everybody.
Oos, indeed, brother. Thank you so much for your time, brother.
Thank
all
you,
right.
brother.
Good luck, brother. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a massive spotlight for them to fight in Paris, and obviously there's going to be a great crowd. And yeah, I mean, the scenes afterwards, if Moicano is to win, would be fucking incredible. I think he will say some hilarious
hold
shit.
On. You think the scenes are going to be incredible?
It's going to be more incredible if BSD wins.
Yeah, but no, I think Moicano has that personality where he can just win anybody around because he is
the French.
Yeah, because he is nuts.
Not the French. The French will leave the sport.
Actually, ban it.
Just be like,
take it back. Well, that's why I think the narrative actually moving into this fight this weekend is like, yes, it's going to be potential fight of the year candidate, but I do think everything here is for BSD to lose. I think if there is a narrative, I do think it is a make or break moment for BSD. This is the moment that you go to Paris, you fucking knock out another fan favorite, take his fan base and move on. Obviously, after the knockout to Poirier, I think a lot of people thought, oh, this is going to be a great changing in the guard moment. But guess what? Poirier is still that good and such a veteran of the cage that he stopped that star power.
Look at all this passion.
No, I am. I'm just saying, it's nice to be back on.
Well, yeah, he's pent this up for 8 weeks. He's got shit to say.
I mean, like, it is a bit like when Darren Till went to fight Masvidal in, I don't know where they did that, Liverpool, Manchester, London. But it's a similar thing.
And Darren Till was supposed to win.
But it's also, Darren Till was coming off the back of not great performances, but they set him up in his hometown to get a big win, and he didn't do it. You know, it kind of fell apart from him after that. Yeah. So it's a bit like.
So this is what I'm saying.
BSD,
I mean, it's a really awkward place for him to be in, because if he does lose to Moicano in a spectacular way in front of his home crowd, how hard is it for an up and coming prospect to then move back up the ladder? Lots of people, like Moicano himself, changes divisions on back-to-back losses because you go, okay, maybe I can't compete that division, so I'll move up. And now he's getting it's the same thing with Robert Whittaker, but Robert Whittaker moved up and look how good that he looked up at middleweight. So it's not the end of a career if back-to-back losses like this happen. However, I do think it's going to be really difficult to then rebook him as a main event star in Paris again if he loses.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right about that. Like, it seriously hurts his impact to promote and sell a show at home, I think. And it also limits the UFC's possibility of going back there. But, you know, we've said make or break for BSD. At the same time, for Moicano, he is 35. He's on a 3-fight win streak, but he's 35. If he loses this fight and then doesn't fight till next year when he's 36, he might struggle to put another win streak. This might be his last chance to really turn himself into a title challenger, which he's not been able to do yet.
BSD is fucking violent as well. Like, his Poirier fight was actually still pretty good. He still put a good effort in. He just kind of got gassed because he was fighting like a madman, and then, you know, made some mistakes and got KO'd. But that happens. Like, maybe he took on a fight too early.
I mean, that's a huge step up.
It was a mess from like number 11. You've just smashed Matt Frivola with a head kick.
Matt Frivola.
Yeah, and then you're being chucked way up the division to the perennial title contender that's always there to fight for a belt. And yeah, so that's a huge and a massive stage. And he's like, what, 28? That's a lot to ask of someone so soon, even though he had 5 finishes in a row, right?
Yeah.
5 finishes in a row. So, I mean, like you said, Moicano's aging. He's there to be smashed up because he loves getting smashed up in fights. And BSD is the hammer to all nails, basically, most of the time. I feel there was a narrative that BSD had staph and he was recovering from antibiotics affecting him. That's why he gassed.
That's true.
Which, I mean, it happens, but obviously we wanted to put on the show and still take the fight. But if he comes back and he's healthy and he's all good to go, then I think we see Moicano get fucking tanked, honestly.
But yeah, I still think like it is all for BSD to lose. I think if Moicano goes in there, puts on a great fight, and maybe loses in a close decision, or even if he gets finished, to be honest with you, I think he's so over, using the wrestling term, with the fans that like I reckon he could just bounce back and have another fun fight. He's the type of guy that people love to see fight, and ultimately loss in Paris doesn't really do that much of a disservice to him, because people just go, hey, he might be one of those fighters that we talk about all the time that just, even in loss, they still win.
Yeah, it's kind of like Dan Hooker, really. I think that's the closest analogy if you want to go that route as well.
If Renato does come out with a win, you stick him in there with Dan Hooker, as we've mentioned, because that's another spice fight. I think Dan wants someone up there now because he's finally got back into that place. But, I mean, you never know, with the right kind of money, they could get it going, because that would be a fucking war. Or if he loses, stick him in there with someone like Paddy Pimblett. And then that'll be like a crazy personality off. And that'll be, I know they both want to fight. He's someone like a Tai Tuivasa before he went on a crazy run, or a Derek Lewis, that is someone always there to have fun, scrappy fights.
I want, and I will say this now on the podcast, because I tweeted it out and no one gave a shit, because why would they? I want Paddy versus Moicano, the ultimate fighter. Brazil versus England. Brazil versus the UK, it'll be great. Get Darren Till in there because he speaks fucking Scouse and Portuguese.
Scousenese.
Even though he's not in the UFC, anymore. Scousenese. But that would be great, though. Paddy versus Moicano.
I want to talk like a little bit more about Benoît Saint Denis as well, and particularly like his loss against Poirier. I think people were really fucking hyped for Benoît Saint Denis, weren't they? On the lead up to, was it UFC 299? People were like, man, if he gets past Poirier here, he could be an absolute megastar. How much do you think the loss against Poirier actually hurt him leading into this fight? Because again, people always complain about fight nights, don't they? You go, oh, this is so oversaturated. What's this main event? Don't give a shit. But actually, what we're faced with here on Saturday is probably one of the best fight night main events probably all year, right? And still, it's somewhat going under the radar. Maybe I'm not active enough on the internet to really like see the swell of fan support for this, but we're very quick to jump on that boat, aren't we? Of just like, oh, it's UFC's boring right now. They're not putting on any fights that mean anything, that have any kind of outcome here that's going to propel these divisions forward. But I do think this is the first one in ages that could be a fucking awesome fight and could do a lot for either guy here.
And the co-main event's sick as well.
Yeah, exactly. But how much does that Poirier loss has hurt this main event? Or has it at all?
I don't think it's hurt BSD that, like, what's his nickname? The God of War as well?
Yeah.
Is he a God of War as well? He was a soldier. He was special forces maybe, or something like that.
He was, yeah.
He's young. And he's fucking
28.
Yeah, he fights like a savage. I like the fact that he is young and he's lost to the best. Really, it's like no one cares about losses in MMA, do they?
I disagree. I think you're right. He is young, and losing to the best doesn't really matter. But I do think the fans have lost interest in him because
really,
I mean, he was.
I think everyone would be like, just switch up like that though.
If he wins. But we're talking about like right now going into this fight, right? And like he was catapulted early into the UFC video game. Like he got bumped up quick, way faster than it takes normally to get in there, because people really wanted him in there. And I think he had this persona of being a special forces guy and fighting like a savage, and also being like unfinishable, right? Like his UFC debut, he got absolutely battered, but just showed how tough he was even in that. Then he goes on this string of wins just being a savage, and then we see him get compromised and get knocked out, and all of a sudden the aura of invincibility is kind of gone a little bit. And I think that did definitely turn a lot of fans off and just looked at him more like, well, you're just a bit of a brawler that runs in there and swings. Like that's not going to get it done at the highest level. We thought that maybe it was that effective, it could work, but if it doesn't,
maybe
it doesn't.
That's the classic point in his career where he has that turnaround. Where he says, I'm no longer going to make silly decisions to go in with a staph infection when I know I'm compromised.
Yeah.
I'm no longer just going to charge and try and constantly clinch Poirier when I know in the pocket, endurance-based fucking striking, he's the best at it. He's not going to make these silly tactical decisions. He's going to go in there with a fight. He's probably still going to go nuts when he smells blood.
If it's part of who he is, he might.
But also, like you said, there's a point where you need to realise that isn't going to cut it. I think we saw that with someone like Paddy as well. Like he was kind of coasting a little bit there. His ego got a bit too much, and then we had the Jared Gordon, and he got humbled by it. And then he came back and he worked on his striking much better. He was much more safe with his striking, and then he's made that improvement. And now he's in the top 15. Yes, he's had good opponents, but like, like that's there on the table for anyone to do. And if Benoit is going to rise to the occasion, he would have had to make those changes.
Well, it's also when you actually fight someone of a higher level, of a higher caliber, you just level up because you know what you've got to do to get to the next level. And you're not going to get that feeling unless you get matched up with someone like Poirier and realize all of the steps you still have to take. So you could be completely right. Maybe he shows up completely renewed.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't want to bang on about it too much, but like I really, really feel, and maybe this is just me being over the top and just being too crazy because it's been a while since I've been on the podcast because Jason kicked me out because he said, you don't know what you're talking about. And I said,
that's not what happened.
I said, okay, I'll take one for the team and I'll do the switching. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the significance of it. It's so sad to think that we did have, like you said, that fucking savage who was just taking people's heads off and then go in with someone. And when we were watching it, this would be such a beautiful star-making moment for BSD. And just to come and just to lose, not just lose, but get knocked out as well is really sad for him, but also like sad for the progression of that, you know, violence triangle that we've had for so long. I do think Islam's going to sit at the top of that division for a really long time. And I don't really see anyone that could beat him really anytime soon. I mean, Arman could, there's a chance, but you know, maybe not.
And that BSD we saw against Poirier is there's no chance he ever beats that Islam.
Exactly,
currently.
Yeah.
There's just no way. Like if you can't get past Poirier, and Poirier was making a lot of mistakes and giving BSD so many chances trying to jump for that guillotine. I know it's a meme, but like tactically it was awful because he was just giving him top position every single time. And BSD still couldn't do it, could he?
You know, you spoke about it, or was it you who's saying, you know, losses in MMA doesn't really matter? I really, really feel like a loss here for BSD does really fucking matter.
Yeah.
And again, of course, people, you know, like Robert Whittaker or Moicano himself can take those losses at the top of the divisions against the Aldos and the Korean Zombies and come back and have these kind of, you know, almost revitalizing their career. But like, I think this would be a major, major step back for a French star to get stopped in France.
Anything can happen, but everything is built up for BSD, right? It's in France, it's in Paris. He's the headliner. They've given him a scrappy guy who's on his level, maybe below his level, who knows? And he feels to me like a layup. To have an exciting Paris card where everyone's cheering. And
if you want to give someone a layup, you do not give them someone on a 3-fight win streak, especially the people he bought. He in those last 3 wins, every single one of those opponents is better than anyone BSD has ever beaten.
Yeah, but what did they? It's hard because then we're getting into the politics of what happens behind the scenes. But what did matching? What did matching him against Poirier say about what the UFC think of BSD?
I mean,
they think he's the next guy.
Sure.
I'm sorry, but like, this is recency bias to the max. If people don't like him anymore, it's just because he got knocked out in a bad way and then they just get rid of him. Does affect people, of course, and who knows, BSD could go down. But before that, everyone was so fucking excited.
Fought Dustin Poirier in the co-main event of 299.
Yeah.
So it's like,
because he was the guy before. He got 2 head kick KOs in a row. If Moicano hadn't done what he done on the mic, he wouldn't be here.
All right, lads. Well, if you're in Paris and you're going around one of the most expensive cities in the world, croissant, not going to be $2.99.
No.
But you know what is going to be $2.99?
Cafe au lait?
I mean, it could be. No, but I know for one thing that is $2.99, it's this podcast.
Yes.
So if
not only this podcast though,
every
single podcast this month, which is 8. We managed to do 8 podcasts a month.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good going. Yeah. And also, big round of applause for me switching.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the wide of like me in the claw.
Is anyone keeping track of how many of these we've done now?
Yes.
Yeah, he is. Every episode.
117.
117.
Yeah.
So yeah, get your $2.99 podcast, not your croissant. Leave the croissants out because you're just gonna get doughy off that, aren't you?
Fucking croissant though, black coffee.
Oh yeah.
Actually, should we go to Paris?
Do you know what I was going to say? We could be in Paris.
Membership.
We could leave out the door, be in Paris in exactly 2 hours.
We get the Eurostar.
Yeah. All right, fuck it, lads.
Go Paddington. Get on there.
Let's go.
We could go for the day and come back.
Yeah.
And still be back. You know, if the fight's on in
you
the
got
afternoon.
Moicano's number. Let's get a little
bit
free
too
tickets.
late.
No, go on.
Wouldn't send you, would he? Because you just fucking shit talked him for an hour.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'll contact Benny.